Hi, I'm Joule L'Adara, and I'm here today in Questa, New Mexico at Ocho, which is an events and arts space that houses sage, acutonics, and massage. And I'm here today with Barrie Andrews and Roderick Ocho. So happy to be here. So Barrie, tell me a little bit about this space and what you're doing here.
Well, we house and do many things at Ocho, but the Sage space is located in a very lovely, light and airy space at the back of the building, the sunny side of the building. Through our windows, we can see the hills right above Questa, where there's some snow right at the moment. We have a very sunny day here. And just like we have many contrasts in the weather here in Questa, we're really looking at doing a process of community acutonics in the space where I have my private practice. I see clients privately here, but we're really looking at doing a wide range of things in the context of something that we've really been developing here called community acutonics.
Great, so before you go any further, I just want to ask, for those of you who may not know, what is Acutonics?
Right. So Acutonics is a system that's been around for over 20 years, developed by Donna Carey and another woman who has passed on. And they're actually, the headquarters are here in New Mexico. I've been studying it for about 10 years. And we use tuning forks on the acupuncture points. We always use two together. Why would we use sound instead of needles on acupuncture points? There really are wonderful things about both acupuncture and acutonics. I'm a massage therapist, so I'm not ever going to be using needles. Needles, it's been said that the needles are a yang to the sound's yin. So what does that mean? When we use tuning forks on the acupuncture points, the sound travels in the body very deeply. It travels down to the bone. For those of you familiar with the notion of an acupuncture meridian, the sound travels wonderfully through the meridian. So that's a primary part of what we do for acutonics, is using the tuning forks on the acupuncture points.
Okay, so now that we know what acutonics is, I'd love to hear about community acutonics, which is your creation here in Questa.
Yeah, so I think there were some very critical experiences that I had with clients that made me decide that what I really wanted to do was to work with multiple people at a time, and that idea sort of came first. And what happened was I was working particularly with children and their families, and there were especially a couple of autistic children that I worked with. What I was able to do, the first child that I worked with who was autistic, that I worked with the sound, I worked with the family in succession. And so I always took a resonance, a pair of tuning forks that I used for all of the family members in each session to sort of link them. And I was just beginning this idea of bridging with sound, and I didn't really know what that meant. And then I had identical twins, and one was autistic, and I told the mother, I said, bring everybody on into my treatment space. And so whoever was kind of nearby, or sometimes I would ask them to come up, I had several family members and often a caretaker there, and so I'd be, putting one tuning fork here and one tuning fork here, and these tuning forks, they're not just like the little tuning fork that you put on a guitar to tune it. When you activate the tuning forks, you may be able to see them vibrating, I don't know, in the video, and you put 2 tuning forks on, they're quite strong. You can really feel them traveling through the body. But what I learned somewhere along the way was I realized that when you use 2 tuning forks, they're trying to find sort of a third note in the middle. And then together they'll create, just like when you throw a pebble in the pond, it creates ripples. Well, these create sound ripples that have other harmonic resonances. But when you use 2 tuning forks, they're trying to find sort of a sweet spot. Well, what I found out was when I did this, if I may, when I did this, they're not activated right now, but when I put the tuning forks like that, I found that sweet spot happen right in my heart.
Wow.
And
so you're the middle note.
So I the middle note, and that coming to a good place of happy resonance happened not just in my body, like right in my heart. I was so amazed. And I had several other experiences working with the public. I had an art studio in Denver, and I had my gongs there, and I brought my tuning forks, and pretty soon I started working with people on the art walks, and I had all these people coming in my studio, and I'd be working with 2 people or 3 people, and they'd have come back from yoga, or they'd be, out on the street drinking, or I'd be, mother, son, or husband, wife. I said, this is great. This is like I can do my research here and just start learning about it. And I had another experience where it was quite profound. Husband and wife felt that perfect moment when the tuning forks found that sweet spot. I felt it in me. And we could all corroborate because somebody else in the room that was watching coughed at the moment that happened, or they made some noise. So that really spurred me on. I said, okay, this is going to be my thing. I've got to figure out, I want to be able to work with different kinds of groups of people. So maybe strangers, maybe individuals. And then once this space here, Sage Acutonics and Massage, was developing, I said, I've got enough space here to fit 4 or 5 tables, and the way that I need to do this is not just do it myself, because part of it is I wanted to let the sound teach me. And I said, well, if I'm going to work with helping different people in a group, to let the sound, let them experience the sound and have that sense of empowerment of, if I feel good, the next person feels good. And so and so on. I said, I need to work with another practitioner. Or eventually maybe more practitioners. My knowledge as an Acutonics practitioner, and I know teachers from around the world, I don't know anybody else who's doing really what we're doing here. I know there are other people exploring sound healing many places, and it's very, very exciting. I just don't know, there's a similar model of community acupuncture, but they're not specifically trying to link people together and to work with that sense of the resonance of everybody together. If that makes
working with
sense.
Group dynamics and family dynamics. So it's not just a practitioner with a client one-on-one, but it's how are we together in a community.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can be friends, strangers, grandparent, grandchild, parent with children. One other aspect that has been very important for me, we do live in a very down-to-earth community. It's also an economically challenged area, and it was important for me also to have some way that people could get real depth, real body work in a much more affordable form. So we keep the price quite low for each individual that comes in. And we have, for example, we have many people in our community who are on fixed incomes, and they might want to come for a full session, and they will get more use out of coming more frequently to community Acutonics. And
So
they
you've
love
got
it.
more people, they can pay less individually, but you're still being paid as a practitioner.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
it's great.
But that's really, it's important for me to have something that's some accessible health care. And we're not quite in the same position we were where nobody has health care anymore. That's changing in this community, but nonetheless, that's important. But it's still, the overriding thing for me is the self-empowerment that people get out of realizing that when they can relax and when they can receive some healing and they feel better, the next person does too. When we have 3 people on the table and each one of us are temporarily with one person at a time, there's a third person who's they might be hearing gongs, they might be in silence, but they are feeling everything that's going on in the room. And we switch back and forth, and as I showed you before, we do a lot of this kind of bridging, where, here, if you want to hold that, where Roderick and I may be holding hands, and he's got his fork on one person, and I have my fork on the other person
The sound
on the
current
same
is
point.
going through you too.
Right.
Yeah, here's the
So-
sweet point right here.
I
Yeah.
love that. Wow.
So, and a lot of other things that we've developed as we're doing it, because each moment when they come in, they're different, and so each session is different, and we've just been opening to learning how to work together, and more learning how to work with the sound with everybody, and it's been and will continue to be, I'm sure, a fabulous journey. Please come see us.
Yes. When you're on the road between Denver, Colorado and Santa Fe, why not stop at Questa, New Mexico to experience Ocho, Arts and Event Space, and Sage Acutonics and Massage.